Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Magick Witchcraft and Occultism. This is episode 10, part 3 on the subconscious mind and magic. As good as my word, I got it out before the end of next year. So cool. Now, as someone quickly mentioned, there's not a lot of magic in the subconscious mind. Now, this might be surprising considering the video I did on the subconscious mind as a whole was a half hour, and the one I did on the three corresponding chakras to the subconscious mind were 20 minutes, and I had to cut that one short. So this might be surprising that there's not a lot of magic that actually goes into subconscious mind. It's usually used in a secondary capacity, which you will see shortly. So before we begin, please remember to like, share, subscribe, click the little notification bell so you never miss an episode and I stop again lost in the YouTube algorithm, as I'd really appreciate that. Alright, let us begin. The subconscious mind and magic. Now, the subconscious mind is associated, or is not associated with very many specific areas of magic, should I say, as the subconscious mind does not have a lot of magical uses directly associated with this specific aspect of the mind. However, the subconscious mind acts as a conduit or a relay between the conscious mind and the superconscious mind. Now, there are techniques that are important to learn and understand and know that are trained in the subconscious mind, such as specific forms of divination, as these techniques are used in aspects of demonology and necromancy. Okay, now, below, I will briefly go over a few techniques that are utilized specifically in the subconscious mind. Each of these I will go over in greater detail in later episodes. This is just an overview of them as a whole. First, we have Sigil Magick. Now, magic that specifically refers to sigils generally refers to the practice of chaos magic, as this practice uses sigils in an unusual way that is specific to this tradition of magic. Generally, sigils are utilized exclusively in the conscious mind for a wide variety of different purposes and practices. Example, a madal that you would stare at and use it as a focus during meditation. We'll also get into that later. That's an example of using a symbol or a sigil, because a sigil means a drawn or painted, to focus your mind on a specific topic or for a specific practice of magic that you're trying to achieve. Now, the practice of using sigils in chaos magic starts in the conscious mind, but is primarily utilized in the subconscious mind, as the sigil created is used and then utilized in a ritual and then destroyed, usually in fire. After the sigil is destroyed, the energy is sent into the universe to manifest itself, and then in the suppository of the subconscious mind, or goes to the suppository of the subconscious mind to help you manifest it. And it helps you to direct and realize your goal or your purpose you're trying to achieve through the use of ritual magic. Moving on to dream walking. The technique or practice of dream walking is also known by two other names specifically, which is dreamscaping or lucid dreaming. Now, depending on who you talk to, they will be generally using one of these three titles to describe the same practice or technique, depending on tradition and individual philosophy. There are 3 or 4 stages to this practice or technique, depending on who you talk to or who you ask. Stage 1 is being able to consciously awaken your mind inside of the dream. This is this allows you to realize that you are dreaming. It's like watching a movie, but you can't affect the dream itself. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is being able to walk in your dream, meaning you're able to take active control over the events and being able to wake yourself up from the dream if it's like a nightmare and you become scared. That's a really useful bonus to stage 2. Stage 3 is being able to enter into someone else's dream, usually with a person that's sleeping right next to you, but not exclusively. If experienced practitioners that get very good at this technique can enter into someone else's dream from an extreme distance, miles and miles and miles. But I've only met a few people that can do that. Now, depending on who you ask, the fourth stage is being able to astral project, but the astral projection lays in the domain of the superconscious mind primarily. So what I refer to as stage 4, this aspect of dream walking is up to individual interpretation on whether where it falls exactly on the scale of, is it in dreams and the subconscious mind, or does it lay more to the suppository or the area of the superconscious mind? Personally, I would tell you astral projection falls into the superconscious mind. Okay, moving on to spiritual warding. The term spirit warding is somewhat deceptive or deceiving, as it's more of an ancient term, which is generally refers to or being able to ward the mind and or body from the inside out through powerful visualization techniques that are primarily utilized in the practice of deep meditation. This is an example of being able to utilize the subconscious mind while you're still conscious, as warding your mind or spirit or even your soul, depending on interpretation, requires you to awaken yourself and have active control. This equally applies to building a mental sanctuary. More on that shortly. For this technique to work, you first have to be in a deep meditational state combined with advanced visualization techniques, as this requires you to draw or carve into your spirit a sigil or a ward of protection against anything you need to protect yourself against or from. Usually this technique is reserved for the practice of demonology and or necromancy, but it can also be used and applied to any form of protection that you need or want to protect yourself from. Now, we're moving on to the mental sanctuary. The mental sanctuary is similar in function to the practice of warding the spirit or warding the spirit, soul, or mind, depending on individual interpretation. The difference is it's far more complicated and advanced and in-depth, and takes a fair bit of time to create the sanctuary in the first place. It is also, and more importantly, it also takes years of practice of meditation to even be able to achieve this in the first place. After going into a deep meditative state, you will then literally build your sanctuary in your mind. This technique requires you to be conscious while utilizing the subconscious mind, as it will feel as though you are in a dream, and there's a good reason for that. You might think of the mental sanctuary as a dreamlike state that is made for you yourself, which no one but you should be able to enter under any circumstances. In this place, you'll be able to do anything you want to do without exception. Many people use and utilize the sanctuary for different purposes. So, to quote an old adage, sky's the limit. To help give you some perspective, to help you conceptualize the sanctuary, I'll give you a brief example, and I'll give you a visual aid seen right here. Now, as I will be covering this later in greater detail, but before that I have a lot more lessons to teach you before we get to that point. Now, there are 3 basic stages to building the mental sanctuary. First, you're going to want to visualize and build the foreground. This is the portion that's closest to you, such as a desk, a chair, or a fire pit, something like that. Second, you want to visualize and build the background. This is the portion that's furthest from you. This could be grass, trees, an ocean, or bookshelves. Third, you want to visualize and build the middle ground. This is the portion that's in between the foreground and the background. This is usually a filler space. The fourth stage is an advanced technique. So also keep in mind, this is an advanced technique within an advanced technique to begin with. This is when you can add characters, meaning someone or something you can interact with. That could be anything from people you know in your personal life to actors you've seen on shows or movies. It could be cartoon characters such as the Smurfs or the cast of Winnie the Pooh or Dragon Ball Z or whatever. It makes no difference. It only matters what you want. And this is why it's an advanced technique. Besides, you have to create the construct or the avatar. You also have to create their voice, their speech, so you can hear them. If you want it to be audible, or sometimes it's like a pseudo telepathy where you're communicating through the mind. And you also have to give them personalities, because you use the construct of the avatar doesn't mean it has to have their specific and unique personalities. You can fill in the blank as you see fit. Now, I think it's important to mention at least what the purpose of the mental sanctuary is for exactly. All right. The sanctuary is a place of peace where you can go to relax and rest your mind and leave the stress and responsibilities of the mundane world behind you. As this is why the mental sanctuary is built consciously in the suppository of the subconscious mind, as this place can become your own personal playground for your fantasies, where your imagination can come alive or run wild, where we can entertain ideas as well as behaviors that we would not necessarily conduct ourselves in polite society in our day-to-day lives. This is why the sanctuary can be used to release anger or frustration built up in the conscious mind in our day-to-day lives, and can give us a place that can feel as real as reality itself is in your mundane life, without any mundane consequences of your actions. It's also worth mentioning that, or through visualization, for lack of a better word, playing pretend, you can also do some of the same things in the realm of the conscious mind, but it lacks the physical sensation of particular acts or experiences, such as the feeling of skydiving or falling, or the feeling of falling. This is another good reason why you're able to utilize the subconscious mind in this way. It gives you the feeling of reality without the consequences. You could think of this kind of like the movie The 13th Floor or The Matrix. It has that same general feel. They would have to be accessing the subconscious mind while they're consciously awake to move around in the world of the Matrix, just to give you some perspective, to help you with the visualization and understanding of it. Okay, and this now ends my series on the subconscious mind, and now we're going to be moving on to the series on the superconscious mind. And that series is going to be shorter than the previous two series, because there's just less to talk about, as I'm only associating the superconscious mind with the crown chakra, and how that portion of the mind interacts with the superconscious mind and the ethereal world, astral projection, how we receive visions and information from outsiders, deities, angels or demons, above or below, the ancestors, things like that. And this is what I'll be covering in the next 3-part series, but it's just going to be a shorter series overall. Just wanted to bring that up. So, as always, I wish you all the very best of luck with your research, and go in peace.